They fired him for an impossible task, so he made sure they paid 100 times his salary to finish it. This is a story about a content creator hired by a university in the early 2010s. His job was to kickstart their YouTube channel, but on his second day, his manager handed him a death sentence of a KPI: produce 85 videos in 1 year. Alone. He tried to tell her it was impossible, but she just smiled and said to focus on quality, not quantity. He took her at her word. And that was his first mistake. He was hired to be a one-man production house. Scripting, casting, shooting, editing, even composing the music himself because they were too cheap to pay for a subscription. And to make it all worse, he had to use his own equipment. The university's cameras and computers were so ancient, they couldn't even handle basic high-definition video. For the first month, things were fine. His manager seemed supportive, almost kind. But then, one day, she found out he was a smoker. And just like that, a switch flipped. Her entire attitude changed overnight. A colleague saw his confusion and pulled him aside. She told him the manager despised smokers, that she actively campaigned to get them fired. And suddenly, everything was a problem. She nitpicked every single thing he did. She'd complain he smelled like smoke after his break. She'd write him up for being 5 minutes late, even though he was pulling 4 hours of overtime almost every single day, without pay. She'd get angry when he wasn't reachable during his lunch break. The list just went on and on. But he kept his head down. He was there to do a job, and he was determined to do it well, no matter how hostile she became. 5 months into the job, he was called into the director's office. He walked in, and there was his manager, wearing this sickeningly sweet, displeased but gleeful expression on her face. His stomach dropped. He knew exactly what was happening. The director started talking, saying how disappointed she was. She'd heard he was falling behind on his work. It was almost halfway through the year, and he had only completed 30 videos out of the 85 required. He tried to explain. He told them he was working himself to the bone, 60-hour weeks, 6 days a week, just to keep up. He reminded them that being a one-man army for this kind of project was never going to work at that pace. He pointed out that the 30 videos he had produced had brought in the highest view counts their YouTube channel had ever seen. He even brought up the manager's own words, how she'd told him to focus on quality over quantity. The director just waved it all away. She didn't care. The KPI was 85 videos. His numbers were less than half of where they should be. She said she felt it was prudent to cut the cord early. He was stunned. He asked how they planned to meet their own target if they fired the only person working on the project. And that's when his manager let out this little snort. A condescending, triumphant sound. "We'll find a professional production house to finish your work," she sneered. The director gave her an odd look for a second, but then nodded in support. "You don't need to worry," the director told him. "Your manager will get the job done." And right there, in that cold, sterile office, as he was being unfairly fired, a light bulb went off in his head. A brilliant, vengeful idea began to form. You see, as the content professional in that office, one of his duties was to maintain a database of local production houses. It was a resource for bigger projects that might need more hands on deck. He knew, with absolute certainty, that his manager had zero contacts in the production industry. She was going to use his list. She had to. So, he played along. He packed his things, said his goodbyes, and left. But before he did, he made one small, surgical change to that database. He went into the file and systematically altered the contact information for every single company on that list. He changed phone numbers. He messed up email addresses. He made them all completely unreachable. All of them, except one. He left one entry untouched. It was a production house where a friend of his worked as a junior director. He gave his friend a call and laid out the entire situation and his plan. His friend was immediately on board. And sure enough, just 2 days later, his friend's company got the call. They were invited in to pitch for the project. He told his friend, "This is a win-win for both of us." It was a chance to bring a massive client to his company, putting him on the fast track for a promotion. And for him, it was a chance for payback. He offered a deal. He would teach his friend exactly how to win the pitch, what to say, what to show, how to appeal directly to the director and his former manager. In return, his friend's company would pay him a standard 15% finder's fee for bringing them the business. His friend put him on the phone with his general manager. When the GM heard this was a guaranteed 6-month contract worth a high 6-figure payout, he didn't even hesitate. A contract was drawn up and signed that very day. He gave them the playbook, a step-by-step guide to winning over his old bosses. And it worked like a charm. His friend's company walked into that meeting and blew them away. They were the perfect fit. They somehow knew the exact style the university was going for, the themes they wanted to feature. The director and his former manager were so impressed, so amazed at how deeply this company understood their vision, that they signed them on the spot. What they didn't understand was the cost. Hiring a full production house, even back then, was not cheap. Each video they produced cost double to triple what his entire monthly salary had been. They had specialists for everything: producers, directors, sound engineers, editors, assistants. They were a machine. They could crank out a finished video every 2 or 3 days. So they did it. They produced the remaining 50 videos in just 4 months. The total bill came to an amount equal to over 100 months of his old salary. And our storyteller? He sat back and collected his healthy 15% finder's fee, which came out to about 15 months of pay. It was enough for him to book a long holiday and put the rest away to attend a respected film school overseas. He collected his money, thinking the story ended there. But what happened next is the part one still can't believe. He was on that holiday, relaxing in Bali, when his phone rang. It was his old colleague, the one who had warned him about the manager. She was practically shouting into the phone. His former manager had been fired. Not only that, the director had been given a massive dressing down by the chancellor of the entire university. It turns out, the original content creation project, the one he was hired for, had a total budget that was only equal to about 1.5 years of his salary. They had exceeded that budget by over 10 times. His former manager had become so desperate to prove she could complete the project without him, so obsessed with hitting that magic number of 85 videos, that she threw all caution to the wind. She approved every single invoice from the production house, paying anything to get the job done, never once getting the required approval from the director or finance department for the massive overspending. She had single-handedly burned through a decade's worth of budget in a few short months, all out of spite. And that is the story of how a man, fired for a manager's personal prejudice, not only got a year's worth of pay in return but also got his friend a promotion to a full director, all while his vindictive boss got exactly what she deserved. This wasn't just revenge, it was a masterclass in professional karma. The manager's prejudice made her blind to the reality of the work, and her arrogance made her think she could just throw money at the problem she created. He didn't hack a system or spread lies, he simply used her own ignorance and desperation against her. He gave them exactly what she asked for, a professional solution at a professional price. So, was this the perfect, calculated revenge that served a prejudiced boss exactly what she deserved? Or did he go too far by sabotaging the contact list and profiting from their mistake? Let me know in the comments.